I want you to imagine a task for a second. A really simple one.
Okay.
You're carrying a tool, like maybe a heavy flathead axe, up a ladder.
Sounds easy enough.
Right. It's just climbing a ladder with a tool in your hand. You've probably done something similar when you were, cleaning out your gutters or painting a high wall.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But now, I want you to imagine doing that exact same task while wearing 70 pounds of heavy restrictive thermal gear.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that changes things completely.
Totally. And you're breathing recycled air through a regulator mask that, obscures your peripheral vision. You are absolutely exhausted.
Right. Your heart rate is probably through the roof.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on top of all that, you are being meticulously timed and graded on every single micro movement you make.
Which is incredibly stressful.
It is. Because the things you do in the next few minutes could, quite literally, mean the difference between life and death for you and for the people operating around you.
It completely shifts the complexion of the situation. I mean, it goes from a routine weekend chore to a high-stakes tactical operation.
Right.
Where the margins for error are, they're functionally zero.
Yeah, zero margin. And the reason we're putting you in this intense, high-stress scenario today for this deep dive is because of a really fascinating document we got our hands on.
Yes, the Florida Fire Minimum Standards Practical Exam.
Right. Specifically, we're looking at the grading module titled Ground Ladders Climb a Ladder Carrying a Tool.
Which, on its face, sounds like the most mundane piece of bureaucratic paperwork imaginable.
It really does.
At least until you start reading the actual requirements.
Yeah. And please, to our listeners, do not use this as a tutorial for your weekend yard work. That is not the goal here.
Definitely not.
The mission today is to unpack the intense, just hyper-choreographed level of situational awareness that is required of first responders. Because when you look at this document, you realize very quickly that this isn't just a physical test.
No, not at all. It's essentially an intense psychological evaluation.
Exactly. And the detail that absolutely blew my mind when we were reviewing the source material, the thing I just cannot get over, is the time limit.
Oh, right. The 4 minutes and 40 seconds?
Yes. The maximum allowed time for this entire incredibly complex evolution is 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
4 minutes and 40 seconds to perfectly execute a sequence of events so dense that, putting your foot an inch to the wrong side results in an immediate failure.
It's wild, less than 5 minutes. It just commands this immense amount of respect for the precision they need.
Absolutely. Because what we're analyzing here is essentially a highly compressed window into the exact cognitive state needed to survive.
Right, in chaotic conditions.
Exactly. Every rule in this packet, every mandatory phrase they have to shout out loud, it's been written in blood.
Wow. Yeah.
These aren't just arbitrary hoops that some state examiner dreamed up to make the test artificially hard. They are engineered survival mechanisms.
Designed to override our instincts, right?
Yeah, precisely. To override dangerous human instincts when your brain is just completely flooded with adrenaline.
Well, let's unpack the very beginning of this process, because the exam evaluates a massive amount of criteria before the firefighter's boot even touches the first rung of the ladder.
Yeah, the setup phase is huge.
In the document, they refer to it as the initial verbalization. And when I read this list, my immediate thought was a pilot's pre-flight checklist.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right, but performed while the plane is actively on fire.
The aviation analogy holds up perfectly, actually, because before a commercial jet pushes back from the gate, the pilots run down a strict list of systems, right, to ensure they aren't flying blind.
Yeah.
The firefighter is doing the exact same thing to establish an operational baseline for the fire ground.
And the sheer volume of things they have to announce out loud to the examiner is just wild.
It's a lot to remember.
It is. I mean, they have to state their protective equipment is fully on. They have to announce they're notifying incident command of their assignment.
Right.
They have to verbally commit to monitoring their own physical conditions and the conditions of their crew. And then, if they're operating in an IDLH environment,
which the document defines as immediately dangerous to life or health.
Exactly. If it's an IDLH environment, they have to declare they're going on air, meaning breathing from their tank.
And keep in mind, they are still standing on the ground at this point.
Right.
They haven't even picked up the axe yet.
They are just getting started. They also have to verbally confirm they are notifying interior and exterior crews. They have to check for a charged backup hose line.
Mm-hmm.
They must announce they're shutting down building utilities, finding a second means of escape, and ensuring they're working from the windward side of the structure.
It's an incredible amount of scene management.
I am genuinely stunned that they are actively managing like wind direction, water supply logistics, and gas utilities before the physical task of climbing is even allowed to begin.
Right.
Is the examiner just trying to prove they memorized the textbook here?
Well, no, it goes much deeper than rote memorization. The state examiner forces the candidate to verbalize all of this to prove they are not succumbing to tunnel vision.
Oh, interesting. Like staring too hard at the ladder and forgetting there's a burning building.
In a physiological sense, yes. Because under extreme stress, the human amygdala essentially hijacks the brain.
Okay.
The sympathetic nervous system kicks in, and your actual field of vision can narrow, literally narrow, to focus entirely on the most immediate, obvious threat or task directly in front of you.
Wow, so it's a primal survival instinct.
Exactly. If your brain hears climb the ladder, it narrows its processing power exclusively to the ladder, the tool, and the height.
Oh, wow.
You become functionally blind to the broader environment.
Which is incredibly dangerous if the environment is, say, a collapsing structure.
Precisely. So by forcing the candidate to mentally map out the incident commander, the backup hose lines, the invisible hazard of wind direction,
Right, checking the wind.
and alternative escape routes, the examiner is verifying that the candidate's brain is still synthesizing the entire fireground.
They're proving they can process the macro-level chaos.
Yes, while simultaneously executing a micro-level physical task. Because you cannot be a liability to your crew just because you're intensely focused on your own feet.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so the macro-level scene size-up is finished. The candidate has proven their brain is taking in the big picture.
Right.
Now the evaluation moves to the specific interaction with command and the actual equipment itself. The examiner issues the assignment, something like, Firefighter, take this tool to the designated work area, and the candidate must immediately respond. Copy command, take the tool to the designated work area.
Right. So the document highlights a very basic but critical communication loop here. Receive, repeat, perform.
The receive, repeat, perform loop makes logical sense to me. But the next requirement is where I have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Oh, God, let's hear it.
Because reading through this section, it felt incredibly pedantic. The candidate has to verify the ladder is safe before climbing. But the required verbalization in the rubric is to state, the ladder is safe and secure, or the ladder is safe and healed.
Right. And that phrasing is heavily scrutinized by the evaluators.
It's an absolute trap. The document explicitly points out a common failure condition here. If the candidate just says, the ladder is safe, it is an automatic failure, marked with a giant red X.
It is.
And I have to argue that this is just pure semantics. If I'm on a ticking clock with less than 5 minutes to get this done, and I can clearly see the ladder is fine, why fail me over a single word? I mean, safe is safe.
Well, it feels like semantics until you break down the cognitive difference between those specific words in a life or death environment.
Okay, how so?
Safe is an opinion. It's an internal feeling. You look at a ladder, your brain runs a quick, lazy calculation, and you think, yeah, that looks safe enough.
But doesn't the examiner have eyes? Like they can see if the ladder is shaking or not.
But it isn't about what the examiner sees. It's about forcing the firefighter's brain to engage with physical reality rather than assumption.
Ah, yeah.
Secure or healed, and healed meaning another firefighter is physically standing on the bottom rungs to brace it.
Right.
Those words refer to an undeniable physical state of the equipment.
So it forces an actual physical check.
Exactly. You cannot just glance at a ladder and declare it secure. Verifying that it is secure or healed requires actual physical confirmation.
Like checking the actual contact points.
Yes. It demands that you look at the base, look at the contact points at the roof line, or, make eye contact with your partner to confirm their body weight is anchoring the bottom.
Wow. Okay, I get it now.
The examiner wants to see that you are acknowledging a verifiable physical condition of your equipment, not just giving a subjective thumbs up based on a gut feeling.
That distinction between an internal opinion and an external physical state is fascinating. It just completely strips away the assumption.
It does.
When you repeat the order back to command, and when you verify the physical security of the ladder, you're essentially guaranteeing that the adrenaline hasn't distorted your reality.
Exactly. You're forcing your brain to operate strictly on verified facts.
Which is the only way to operate when the environment is actively trying to kill you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the psychological checks are passed, the assumptions are gone, the ladder is safe, and it is physically secure. Now the physical danger actually begins.
All right, time to climb.
The candidate grasps the tool, And the document notes they have to maintain positive control, never allowing it to swing excessively, and they step onto the ladder. And the physics required for this ascent completely defied my expectations.
Yeah, the mechanics of how a firefighter climbs are heavily policed by the evaluators.
The source dictates that your free hand must go on the backside of the ladder's beam, not the horizontal rung where you put your feet, but the long vertical rail on the side.
The beam.
Right, the beam.
Yeah.
The candidate must maintain 3 points of contact at all times and use their leg muscles, not their arms, to drive the climb.
Which is pretty standard climbing safety.
Sure, but here's the critical evaluator checkpoint I really struggled with. The text emphasizes that the free hand must slide continuously upward along the backside of the vertical beam.
Yes.
Continuously.
There is a massive red warning against removing the hand to re-grasp the beam higher up. And if possible, the hand holding the tool is also supposed to slide along the opposite beam.
Right.
I'm going to challenge this rule because it feels entirely counterintuitive to me. When I climb a ladder at home, I grab a rung, I let go, I reach up, and I grab the next rung. It is way faster. Why is sliding on the vertical beam mandatory?
Well, if we expand our view to the physics of gravity and sudden equipment failure, the extreme danger of your weekend climbing method becomes glaringly obvious.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Let's visualize what happens when you climb at home. When you let go of one horizontal rung to reach for the next one, there is a fraction of a second where your hand is floating in midair.
Right, a transition phase.
Yes, the dead zone.
Yeah.
Now, inject the variables of a fire ground. You're wearing heavy, wet gear. Your boots are coated in slick soot and water.
Oh, man.
Imagine you slip off a wet rung right at that exact fraction of a second when your hand is transitioning through the air. You have 0 points of contact holding you to that structure.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Your hand is grasping empty space, your foot is gone, and gravity takes over instantaneously.
You would just peel backward off the ladder.
You fall. And with that much weight, you fall hard. However, if your hand is firmly gripping the backside of the vertical beam and you are sliding it upward rather than letting go.
You maintain continuous contact.
Yes, unbroken contact with the structure.
Wow. So you are essentially turning your arm into a mechanical brake. You're replacing a human action like the act of grabbing with pure physics. Just friction.
That's a brilliant way to phrase it, actually. The friction of your heavy leather glove clamped around that beam is a constant point of physical connection.
Right.
If your foot slips off a rung unexpectedly, that sliding grip instantly becomes an emergency braking mechanism. Your hand naturally clenches as you fall, and the beam catches you.
That makes total sense.
A sliding hand acts as a continuous safety tether.
It completely eliminates that tiny, vulnerable window where you aren't tethered to reality.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were sliding our hands, letting friction do the safety work, and we reached the designated work height.
We made it to the top.
We paused to stabilize. But the assignment is to carry a tool to do work.
Yeah.
We have to let go with our hands to actually swing the axe or use the pike pole. How is that accomplished without plummeting backward?
This brings us to a really beautiful intersection of human anatomy and structural geometry.
Yeah.
Establishing the leg lock.
Yes. The required verbiage the candidate has to announce is up 1 over 2. You step up 1 rung with your locking leg and put it over 2 rungs to lock yourself in. But the source document gets incredibly specific about the mechanics of this lock.
Very specific.
First, the leg lock must be placed on the opposite side of the intended work area. Second, and the text notes this is a major failure point, the foot must hook the vertical beam of the ladder.
Right. The beam, not the rung.
Exactly. Hooking the horizontal rung is an automatic fail. Now, my initial assumption was that maybe you hook the beam just to keep your bulky boots out of the way of the other rungs so you don't trip over yourself later. Am I anywhere close to the mark on that?
Not quite, actually. It isn't about clearing space at all. It's entirely about sheer physics, torque, and leverage.
Okay, torque.
Think about the forces at play when you swing a 10-pound axe into a roof while standing 30 feet in the air.
That's a lot of force.
Right. If you weave your leg through the ladder and simply hook your toe onto the horizontal rung beneath you, you are relying entirely on the small muscles of your ankle and like a tiny patches of rubber boot tread.
Just to counteract the massive rotational force of your swing.
Exactly.
That sounds like a great way to snap an ankle and fall backwards simultaneously.
Precisely. The horizontal rung offers almost no lateral support. But If you weave your leg through and wrap your foot firmly around the outside vertical beam,
You lock in?
you are locking your shin, your calf muscle, and the entire structure of your boot right into the main load-bearing frame of the ladder. You are essentially turning your own leg into a structural cross brace.
Wow. You become part of the ladder's architecture.
You merge with it. When you shift your body weight heavily to swing a tool, that vertical beam will hold you against the rotational force.
So you are physically built into the ladder. You are totally secure. But even then, the exam dictates you still cannot start working yet. You have to shout, "I am notifying exterior crew. Exterior crew, work will be performed overhead."
Which loops us perfectly back to the situational awareness checklist from the very beginning.
Oh, right.
The physical leg lock and the verbal warning are managed simultaneously.
Because you can't manage your own safety without managing the crew's safety below you.
Exactly. The evaluator demands proof that you don't separate your physical actions from the broader environment.
That makes sense.
You don't start raining glass, shattered wood, or heavy debris down onto the perimeter until you are completely secure from falling yourself and you've actively warned the people in the drop zone. It proves multi-level hazard management.
Right. Okay, so the work is simulated, the hazard management is demonstrated. Now, the task is complete and it is time to come down. Now, my instinct, and I think most people's instinct when they finish a grueling, dangerous task, is to hurry up and get back to solid ground.
Oh, of course. It's basic human nature.
Okay.
The stress and adrenaline peak during the physical exertion of the work, right?
Yeah.
The moment the primary objective is achieved, the brain craves relief. You just want the danger to be over immediately.
Well, the source document clearly anticipates this, because rushing the descent is flagged as a massive vulnerability.
It's a huge trap.
First, you have to carefully remove the leg lock and return to what they call a neutral position. That's with both feet standing side by side on the exact same rung. And then comes what I find to be the most fascinating evaluator checkpoint in this entire 4-minute and 40-second ordeal.
The mandatory pause.
The mandatory pause.
Yeah.
The text dictates the candidate must stand perfectly still in the neutral position for approximately 1 to 3 seconds before they are allowed to descend.
Right.
Descending immediately without pausing is a common failure. And amidst all the dramatic intensity of this exam, evaluating toxic atmospheres, calculating wind direction, sliding up beams, locking legs into load-bearing frames, standing completely still for 3 seconds is a grading checkpoint.
It seems crazy, right?
It does. Why is doing absolutely nothing a critical survival skill?
We have to look at the powerful psychology of task completion bias.
Okay.
When you are engaged in swinging an axe or ventilating a roof, your brain is firing on all cylinders. Your cortisol levels are incredibly high. You are locked into work mode. The exact moment the tool operation is complete, you get a rush of endorphins. Your brain floods with the relief of a finished job. The psychological tension drops dramatically.
But the physical danger hasn't dropped at all. You're still 30 feet in the air on a wet, slippery ladder.
And that is the deadly disconnect. The brain relaxes its grip, literally and figuratively, before the body is safe.
Wow.
When people relax in a hazardous environment, they get sloppy, they rush, they miss a rung. That mandatory 1 to 3 second pause forces a harsh cognitive reset.
Snaps them out of it.
Exactly. It forces the candidate to consciously, deliberately shift their brain from work mode back into climbing mode. It demands that they intentionally prepare for the descent, rather than just falling victim to an automatic, rushed retreat.
So you have to intentionally build a bridge between two dangerous tasks.
Yeah.
You take a breath, you reset. Then you execute the controlled descent. You face the ladder, you use your leg muscles, and you rely on the friction of sliding your hands on the beams, just like on the way up. You hit the ground, and finally you verbalize. Tool operation complete. Assignment complete.
And the document provides a final memory phrase for the candidates, which is, repeat the order, safe and secure beam contact leg lock, notify exterior crew, neutral position controlled descent.
To execute that flawlessly, while managing adrenaline and physical exhaustion in under 5 minutes, is just a remarkable feat of conditioning.
It truly is.
When you zoom out and look at the sheer density of thought required for this single exercise, it fundamentally changes how you view what these professionals do. It is never just climbing.
No, not at all.
It is a masterclass in overriding dangerous human instincts, overriding the optical narrowing of tunnel vision, overriding the urge to rely on assumptions rather than verifiable physical states, overriding the instinct to grasp empty air instead of relying on friction, and overriding the urge to rush to the descent the second the work is done.
It demands total alignment of cognitive processing and physical execution. And all of this is happening in an environment that is actively designed to distract, disorient, and exhaust you.
It's incredible. And, for you listening, the odds are incredibly high that you aren't going to be carrying a pike pole into a burning building anytime soon. But the psychology of the latter applies to almost every high-stress environment we navigate.
Oh, absolutely.
We all fall victim to rushing the descent. Think about the end of a massive month-long project at work. You finally finish the last slide. Your brain floods with relief because the work is done. You rush to hit send without reviewing it, and that is exactly when the glaring, catastrophic error slips through.
Yeah, the false sense of security that accompanies finishing the primary objective often blinds us to the secondary objective, which is finishing safely and correctly.
Exactly. So I want to leave you with a completely different angle to chew on today, something that builds on this idea of situational awareness, but applies directly to the world we interact with every single day. Think about the design of our modern digital tools compared to the design of that ladder. The firefighter survives because the physical environment and the training force friction.
Right, the sliding hand, the complicated leg lock.
Yes, the mandatory 3-second pause. It is all intentional friction designed to keep the brain engaged. But our modern world is engineered to do the exact opposite.
That's a great point.
Every app, every piece of software, every one-click checkout, it is all designed to completely eliminate friction, to make everything instantaneous, to encourage rushing without thinking.
Total streamlining.
So what happens to our own situational awareness, our own ability to pause and assess the bigger picture, when our daily environment no longer forces us to slide our hands along the beam? Does a world without friction ultimately make us blind to the drop?